Hello and welcome back to Bike Walk Connecticut, and I am your host, Stephen Mitchell, and we are always reporting on bike and pedestrian issues around the state of Connecticut and related subjects, and today we have from Avon, Connecticut, Mehmet Gokalp, and I know that I just butchered your last name, so give me the correct pronunciation.
Gokcen.
There we go, Gokcen, okay. So Mehmet, welcome to our program.
Thank
you. And you have kind of an interesting background and an interesting perspective, and we met at one of the, I think, bike pedestrian master plan meetings for the town of Avon.
Yes, back in September, I believe.
Back in September, yes. But tell us, like, your upbringing, your beginning, and what brings you so interested in this subject of planning for bike ped issues. So go ahead.
Well, I was born in Istanbul, Turkey in 2008, and I lived there for about 4 years until my family moved to Florida.
Yep.
Right? And from Florida, I spent my childhood bathing in the sun out there.
Okay.
And then from there, we went to Avon, right?
Yep.
When I was about 10 years old.
And you had to learn how to shovel snow. There we go.
Yes, exactly. I remember shoveling my first snow, right? And we built these forts with my brother. Yep. And it was the most wonderful thing because I hadn't seen snow for years back in Florida.
Yep.
It's, you know, a beautiful sight.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So tell me, obviously in Florida, you probably about the time everybody learns to ride a bike. Maybe was that what was your first bicycle experience?
My first bicycle experience. Oh, that's a good one. Now I remember my father. He got me this bike, right, with like the 2 wheels on the back, so it was, you know, a 4-wheeler. Yeah. But I remember riding my bike in my neighborhood, right, so it was just a regular old sidewalk that I just learned, and I had so many scratches on my knees and arms.
Yep, that's part of the deal.
That's how you learn, by falling down.
That's it, you fall down, you get back up, get back on the bike, and then you got your training wheels off. Do you remember I remember the day that my training wheels came off. 61 years ago. Do you remember when your training wheels came off? I remember it as freedom. Finally, yes, I could go as fast as I could. That is funny that you describe it that way. So it certainly cycling. A lot of people, you know, especially 5, 6, 7. It's like I'm going to go conquer the neighborhood.
Yes, exactly.
But so. You're now in Avon High School. What year are you in?
I'm a sophomore.
You're a sophomore, okay. And so when we met a few months ago in the town of Avon, in most of these towns, municipalities are going through this bike ped master plan process. I know Simsbury is going through it, West Hartford, all the towns around here are now becoming bicycle-friendly communities and so on and so forth. But you have taken on, at a young age, forming a group, I believe called the Green Valley Volunteers. So tell me how you came about doing this and who's involved with your group.
Yes, of course. Well, it's actually very simple. All of our necessities for what we plan to achieve honestly came from the simple fact that whenever I needed to go somewhere, I would hop on my bike and I'd go down to Lovely Street, for example. And, for example, to get to my friend's house, he lived, you know, just a couple miles away. I would ride on my bike and have to go through Lovely Street, which still is an awfully terrible road to be on.
It's not so lovely on a bicycle.
No, but it could be.
Yeah, it could be.
Because what we're striving for is to be able to go to your friend's house, grab an ice cream, right? Ride around the whole town and have to enjoy all that beautiful nature outside, interact with your neighbors, you know, just be able to do it with freedom and safety. That should be a necessity in such a modern nation as we have here.
Correct. Okay. So in the 60s and 70s when I grew up, to be honest with you, Simsbury High School, Simsbury Junior High School, Simsbury High School, there was 40, 50, 60 bicycles on the rack any given day, you know, a nice day. We're not talking December, January, February, but we're talking, you know, September, October, April, May, June. There'd be a lot of kids that ride their bikes to school. Is that what's going on in Avon now, or See, I mean, yeah, I'm so out of touch, but go ahead.
That's what we're trying to achieve, because right now, to bike around in Avon, it's awfully unsafe because you have cars, huge cars, trucks riding right next to you in often minimum 1.5 feet to a foot of tiny little lines. And often you don't even have that in small neighborhood roads.
Right.
And so you can't even get around by biking. And so what we're trying to achieve now with our Safe Lovely project is to lay that groundwork.
What's it called? The Save Lovely project?
The Safe Lovely project.
Safe Lovely.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're trying to lay that groundwork in support with our town and our hundreds, and in fact, I can't even count how many supporters we have from our families, our friends, our neighbors, and our colleagues in school.
Okay.
And so this Lovely Street project, what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish the first safe, modern bike lanes that are fully separated from traffic right on Lovely Street.
Okay.
Right? And so this road will connect our greenway right in the Collinsville section.
Yep.
It'll connect our shops in Canton Shops, and it'll connect Unionville. And so it'll allow access for recreation or even shopping, for example, in Stop and Shop or fishing in the Farmington River.
Yep.
And so with our Safe Lovely project, it's going to be the most beautiful thing as I envision it. Wonderful bollards, fully separated, right? And we're going to be utilizing the most modern interchanges as long as they get approved from the DOT.
Right. Okay. So, and I think perhaps part of the problem, you know, in this country is that in the 40s, 50s, 60s, the roadways were improved with one consideration, and that was simply to get cars and trucks through. They had zero regard for pedestrians, zero regard for bicyclists. And Route 44 is a prime example. When I was a kid, Route 44 was a great road to ride a bike on, which sounds very strange, but back in the 60s, Route 44 was a two-lane road. The Farmington Valley probably had a quarter of the population that it has now. But the shoulder on Route 44 was 4 or 5 feet wide. So it was a great road to ride a bike on. And then the 60s, 70s came along, and the DOT widened it to 4 lanes, but they didn't expand the road, the width of the road, hardly at all.
Lovely Street is still 2 lanes.
And Lovely Street's still 2 lanes, and it does have a shoulder, but it varies in width from, like you said, like from 6 inches to 2 feet wide.
Yes,
so
at most.
Yes, well, it needs, and people will ride a bike if they feel safe.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about your Green Valley initiative and the people who join you, and you have active members and you have some people that are, you know, just kind of watching what you're doing. But tell us about your active participants. Who are they?
With the Green Valley Volunteers, what we're trying to achieve is a safe, modern, and green future for the whole Farmington Valley and Connecticut as a whole. And so our projects, like the Safe Lovely project and other initiatives, for example, we're helping, I was talking with Bike Walk Connecticut in their monthly meeting.
Okay.
We're going to help them plant native plants, for example, in the Greenway.
Yep.
And so all of our projects all come into that vision for the future. And so in talking of active members, I have mainly my friends and colleagues from the high school, right? 20 or so people that help me campaign, work with the plants and these projects and advocate for them. And the inactive members, as I told you, they're basically numerous, in which I can't even count, because I say everybody can be a Green Valley volunteer as long as you support our vision for the future, for a safe, modern, and green life that we want to enhance in the future.
So if our viewers of this show want to be part of Green Valley Volunteers, and we'll put it up underneath the screen, but it's a Facebook page?
There's a Facebook, there's a Twitter.
Is there a website or just
not
Facebook?
Yet, not yet.
Not yet a website. Okay, we're working on building the website. Okay, but so we're now on Facebook, and what's it called exactly?
So on Facebook, I have it under my personal account.
Okay.
Right, Gokalp Gokcen.
Okay.
And on Twitter, it's the Green Valley Volunteers. And most of my work, for example, comes from my Instagram page. In which it's also under my personal account, m.g.gokcen, in which I published a video documentary series, for example, on what it is riding a bike on Lovely Street, where we have a POV right, where I actually set up my camera. It's very amateurish.
Okay.
But I just had my phone
on here. Yep,
right on the bike.
Yep.
And so all I did is just record what it's like. And I have numerous videos published for what it's like.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, and we'll try to show some of those. And then what towns, I mean, we're looking at this, here we are in Simsbury at the studios and Simsbury Community Media, formerly known as Simsbury Community Television. There we go, that's what it was when it started, but we're all multimedia. And the one thing that I want to stress on is the connectivity of the towns. So, and it's one thing, Avon is not a bubble unto itself.
Yes.
West Hartford is not a bubble unto itself.
We're a whole state.
Simsbury is not a bubble unto itself. So what I've been trying to push for within the Department of Transportation is not only are town roads involved, because towns can only control their own roads, but DOT, CONDOT,
yes,
has to control all of the state roads to make,
just like Lovely Street.
Well, Lovely Street will turn into Lawton Road in Canton. Nod Road in Simsbury and Avon, because Nod Road goes through both towns, well, that will turn into Waterville Road, which is Route 10, which is a state road.
Yes.
So if we have sharrows or we have a bike lane on the town roads that as soon as you turn into a state road, that you don't lose that, the continuity of having a bike lane, feeling protected.
A connective network is necessary.
That's a good way to put it. So how many, what other initiatives? So you're talking about the Lovely
Safe Lovely project.
Safe Lovely project. What other things are you trying to do within your group of Green Valley?
Well, currently what we're mainly focused on the Safe Lovely project, because as they say, if you're going to do something, you better do it right. And so we focused on all of our manpower and all of our strength and knowledge onto this Safe Lovely project so we can create the best possible product for the people of Avon, Canton, and Farmington. As what we want this street to do is we want it to act as a bastion of hope and progress for the future that not only the Farmington Valley can rely on to showcase to the world and what we can achieve, but Connecticut as a whole. Because if we can do this correctly, we will have children riding their bikes to Roaring Brook, at least being able to. We will have lower car accidents on Lovely Street because it will, since it is decreasing the lane by just a little bit, that little bit is enough to decrease the speeds of the cars. It'll decrease the amount of deaths of animals, for example. And so this whole project is part of that initiative for a safe, modern, and green future. And so if we get this Lovely Street project done, I'm hoping on so many more projects that we can accomplish together as a town, because once we see Safe Lovely in action, there is no bounds in what we can accomplish as a state and the valley.
So you know that Lovely Street is a state road. So have you been reaching out to DOT?
Yes, I've been talking with Senator Seminara, our state representative Eleni, Galvez-Segra, and I've been reaching out to the DOT. And so currently we have, I got the confirmation from our town's chairman, right, Dan Palhalmas, on the meeting on Thursday, last Thursday. And we can actually put up somewhere on the screen his quote, right? And he said, if I remember correctly, the town supports your project, we are your allies. And so
awesome,
now we have Avon, thousands of families. And so all we need to do is get this done.
I think, you know, I was born and raised in Simsbury, but moved to Avon in 2016. And when I first went there, it wasn't exactly an overwhelmingly warm reception. I think the town has come a long way in the past few years. I would say that for them to spend the money that they are spending now on a bike ped master plan, that would not have happened 5-6 years ago. So they are doing that now, and so it's coming along. But government time is not quick. One thing that I've learned is that government time, 3 to 5 years that's pretty quick when you're working with the government. So
that is only if the projects are debated on. if our project,
Yeah.
if we get, as we are, getting the full support of our people
Yep.
for this future, I believe as long as we get the bureaucratic processes done and get the legislation passed,
Right.
construction will only last a couple months, and we will be able to show what we can do quickly and efficiently and how beautiful it can be.
Right. How is this, what sources of funds are they going to be using to do what you want to do? Do you know how the funding is going to happen?
Well, as you know, I am not an engineer,
Right.
or I am not part of the finance department
Yeah.
of our state.
Okay.
However, I am aware of many different federal grants that there are
Yeah.
for such projects
Yep.
such as these, because, you know,
The infrastructure bill and
yes,
all that stuff.
the
Yeah.
infrastructure
Yep.
bill,
Yep.
it prioritizes having viable alternatives of transportation, not just cars.
Yep.
Right. So equal amount for cars, bikes, and such.
Yep.
And so we can look into these federal grants for funding.
Right.
We have state grants, and overall the state treasury will help us.
Yep. Okay. So how many people would you say ride their bikes to either the middle school or the high school currently?
Currently?
0, 5, 10? Are we talking?
Well, the thing
I
is,
know there's not a lot.
with Avon, you know, we
Yeah.
have a hilly topography.
Yes.
So it does take a bit for you to get from, say you live in West Avon, like I do.
Right. You live up on a hill.
Yes,
A
I live
big
up-
hill.
Yes, and there's another hill
Yeah,
right between
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So it takes me about, I'd say, 30 minutes-ish to
Yeah.
ride my bike to Avon High.
Yep.
But I was saying, if we get our, well, since we're talking currently, I would say I see about 100 or so students overall trying to get to their schools via walking or biking.
Yep.
But that's overall, not just the high school. I'm saying the middle school, the high school, and such.
Yep.
And so I believe with our project, right, with Lovely Street,
Okay.
we will establish, by establishing this beautiful road and the safe road,
Yep.
our Roaringbook students, which are normally young children
Right.
that aren't, I mean, they shouldn't go out in these circumstances into these
generally
roads.
speaking, in Connecticut, 4th grade is like the minimum age. That's the age of which they'll allow
Yes.
students to ride their bikes to school.
Exactly.
4th grade. That's
Yes.
pretty
And
much universal.
under these
Yep.
current circumstances, they should not be going out into that road.
Agree.
Absolutely
Yep.
not.
Yep. Yep.
But if we do establish our project in the way that I want it to be,
Yep.
I believe there is no bounds for who can ride their bike.
Right. Okay. So it's a matter of will. And then, what is your experience with cycling? Do you ride much yourself, or
Oh.
you?
Well, the whole idea for this whole project came
Okay.
from me riding my bike. I think, when was it that I got my bike? I got my bike in Avon around 5th, 6th grade.
Okay.
And so ever since then, I've been going out into the streets and, going
What's
into
your furthest bike ride?
my
where have
furthest
you-
bike
yeah.
ride. Oh, I remember. It was last year,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And what I did was I got from my house, I went to Lovely Street, and then I crossed over the mountain. Right? Well, hill at least, not a mountain.
Yeah, we call it a mountain.
Yes.
It's Avon Mountain.
Yes.
There we go. It's a big mountain. If you're from Colorado, they wouldn't call that a mountain, right? That's a little
And so
hill. But
I crossed over to Avon High,
Yep.
and then I went to the Farmington River,
Yep.
and then from there I went all the way to Granby.
Granby. Okay.
And then
Yep.
from Granby, I went back and through the hills of West Simsbury and West Canton,
Yep.
I got all the way back to my house. I mean,
Okay.
it took me, 12 hours, I think, the
Okay.
whole ride was?
And
Beautiful
how many
day in
miles was
summer.
that? Do you know? Did
I
you
have
catch
no
it?
idea.
No, you didn't. Okay. So in case you're wondering where I was leading with this question was, so are you going to join us for Ride the State next year? So we ride from New Haven to Southwick, Massachusetts. It's 57 miles. Last year we did it with 150 people. Well, actually last year it rained, but most years we have rain-free. We always hope for rain-free. It's always the weekend after Father's Day. So you want to join us next year for Ride the State?
Well, as long as there's no school.
Yeah, it's always on a Saturday, so it's always actually after school ends. But so anyway, so thank you for coming on. I think we're going to try to show you some videos and some of the things that you've done and incorporate that into the show here.
Yes.
And but other than that, I think I just want to say thank you and good luck with your project, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Great.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.